Start in the Eastern Cape, and an extraordinary court application launched today. Now, you'll be aware of the efforts to root out corruption at the University of Fort Hare. At its most serious point, currently on trial, 5 people accused of involvement in 2 suspected assassinations of staff at the university in recent months. But playing out at a separate level is a probe into suspected fake qualifications. Well, today, the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane, is trying to get the Special Investigating Unit probe, authorised by the President himself, set aside on the basis that it is wrong in law. The Premier, of course, has been on the back foot himself over allegations that he was heavily assisted in a PhD proposal. Well, I'm joined now by the spokesperson for the SIU, Kaizer. Mr. Kganyago, thank you so much for joining us. Just for a point of clarity, my understanding is that you were looking into maladministration, which of course can lead to, uncovering issues around fake qualifications, could, I would imagine, also lead to following the money. Are you at all involved, as the SIU, in the matter that is currently playing out in the courts, where 5 people stand accused of those 2 murders?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. We are not directly involved with the criminal side of things where people are arrested for trying to kill people, because at this present moment, we're not aware what the motivation for them to do what they did was. Therefore, this is not what we are looking into. We are doing what we are doing there in relation to a proclamation that was signed by the President and gazetted in 2021, and we've got specific things that we are supposed to be dealing with.
All right, so I wonder if, before we get into what happened today, if you could just sketch out for us what you have been mandated to do and what you've uncovered so far.
Yes, we are looking into the qualifications, the awarding of qualifications at the university, in particular, the honors and the masters that were awarded at a specific time in the Fort Hare. And we are also looking at 2 tenders, and the other one is for air conditioners, and the other one is for gardening services that we are looking at as per the proclamation that was signed by the President in 2021.
And can you
therefore, yes, what we wanted to say is the investigation is going very well, and at the present moment, for obvious reasons, we can't give a ball-by-ball commentary on it to say this is how far we are, but we have gone far enough, and we are able to talk to the relevant people that we find evidence against.
So I understand if you can't go into detail, but, when you start picking at this particular ball of string, it can lead to very serious places. Yes, it could, as you say, uncover sort of cases of fraud or people trying to falsify qualifications. But I would imagine it could also lead to massive amounts, to uncovering that lots of money has been stolen from the institution. Can you give us any indication of whether you're coming across some really serious signs of fraud and corruption at the university?
Yes, we are. And most of the investigations that we are finding, there's traces of monies that have been paid, there's traces of qualifications that were not given in a proper manner. But at the moment, like I said, we do not want to come up with statements that will implicate people when we have not held conclusive information. We are talking to all the people that we're supposed to talk to. They must be given their right to respond to the allegations that are before us.
All right, so the Premier himself says that you're probing him, and I believe it relates to this PhD application. The allegation is that he was assisted hugely in trying to put forward that proposal. Can you, bearing in mind that he's now put this into court papers, confirm that you are indeed looking into him?
It's a very difficult one to answer. I always answer it this way by saying we do not investigate people. We investigate processes, and the processes lead us to people. And therefore, we are at a point where we are looking at certain individuals, and we are saying, here is the information that we have uncovered. Can you respond to them? And I don't know whether it is because of that he is responding the way that he is doing.
Okay, so I think you've just said yes without saying yes. We'll take that. But then today, these court papers that have come through, launched by the Premier of the Eastern Cape, citing, first of all, the President of South Africa, the Special Investigating Unit, and the University of Fort Hare. And his whole argument is that the President has erred in law, he's too vague, and this proclamation is completely unconstitutional. What do you make of that? What is the SIU's response to this? Because he goes into a fair amount of detail saying, you know, for example, you can't say these are public funds. You can't say that Fort Hare is a public institution, etc., or a public entity. I would imagine you've had a chance to have a look at the papers and you're probably drafting a proper response. But in brief, can you tell us what the SIU's response is to this?
Yes, we are looking into the papers. I was just talking to the lawyers this afternoon, and all that they said to me is that they are looking into the papers, and we have now made a decision as the SIU that we are going to defend this matter, but also we've made a decision that the investigation will continue as it is supposed to continue. And we have seen all the things that he's making, but obviously our lawyers would not want us to get into detail on what our strategy is going to be or what our response directly is going to be. But by merely saying that we are defending this matter, we are basically saying we don't agree.
I'm with you. If he's right, and the proclamation was incorrectly proclaimed, and that the SIU is essentially acting against, you know, out of your powers, would that mean that everything you're doing at the university would have to grind to a halt, or just the aspect relating to the Premier?
We are of the opinion that the proclamation was signed correctly. And you must remember that the proclamation is created by us after preliminary investigations are done to ascertain to make sure that the information before us says that there's something to investigate. Therefore, the big if, yes, but we don't think that is going to be the case in this particular instance. We will defend this matter and we will prove why we had to put up this proclamation and ask the President to sign for it.
The Premier is saying that the probe into any potential corruption is laudable, it's a good thing, and it's important that it must happen. But he's saying he's been dragged into it, and his name is being besmirched, and he denies any of the allegations against him. Do you understand why he's doing what he's doing?
I don't know, because from a SIU point of view, we have never said anything about him or anybody who is part of this investigation. The media, you know, for a long time, there have been questions from yourselves and many other media houses about who are the people that we are looking at, and we always say no. At this present moment, we can't, and we have never said anything like that in the public space, and we will never do, because we respect the integrity of the organization, but we also respect the integrity of the investigation, because investigation changes. If we say today that you have done 1, 2, 3, and find later on further information that you have not done those things, would have tarnished your image. In this case, would never do that, and this is something that we're clear about. Therefore, if it was done, it was not done by the SIU at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's referring obviously to media reports that have come out with these allegations. I want to get a sense from you, and of course he's not the only person that's been named in media reports as having some suspicion around either qualifications or, I think in his case, a proposal to do a master's or eventually what became a PhD. How far are you along in these probes? I mean, are you close to clarifying these matters and finalizing these matters?
All I can say is we have gone a long way, and there are things that we still have to gather. There's information that we still have to gather, and once we are ready, we will be in a position to say these are the outcomes, because we are very specific when we deal with issues. We have communicated the proclamation when this thing started, and we now are investigating, and when there is any outcome along the way, we will come back as we always do and say, here are the outcomes, these are the people that it implicates, and then we deal with that at that level. But at the moment, we have not reached that stage, and we do not want to even preempt it.
All right, so the Premier wants to interdict your probe into potential maladministration at the University of Fort Hare. You've indicated to me this evening that you are going to be challenging that. What is the next step?
Obviously, we are appointing an advocate to deal with this matter, and we will respond to the papers as indicated. We are the second respondent after the president, and I don't know what the presidency is going to do around this matter, and the University of Fort Hare, who is the third respondent. But from our side, we have to, because we do not agree with these papers, and we have got to make sure that we defend our integrity.
You've been very clear that the 5 people on trial, it's not the work of the SIU, that of course this was investigations, this was the police, this is the MPA, and we understand that distinction. But equally, we've also spoken about the kind of corruption that you are uncovering, serious maladministration. And if indeed, you know, we know that the VC has been trying to uncover the rot, there have been attempts on his life, his bodyguard was murdered trying to defend him, also the head of the fleet management system was murdered last year. In the course of your investigations, have any of your investigators felt a threat, felt that they were perhaps working in a potentially dangerous environment?
No, definitely. With all the things that are happening, it's obvious that our investigators feel that they are working in a very dangerous space, and we have taken that into cognizance, and we have organized something around to make sure that they are safe. Because we don't only do it to them, but we do it in all the other investigations where we feel that there is a potential for danger, and then we make sure that they are protected, and we've done it in many other. I don't want to indicate for security reasons which others we have made those arrangements, but yes, we have.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. We much appreciate your time. That is a spokesperson for the Special Investigating Unit, Kaizer Kganyago, indicating the SIU is going to be challenging that application by the Premier of the Eastern Cape. He wants to stop their probe, the proclamation actually by the President, into maladministration at the University of Fort Hare.